Yo, what's up, guys? It's Terrell here from Terrell Game Vlogs. It's been a while because I can't be consistent for shit anymore. But I did want to talk about something that had been frustrating me as of recently, I want to say. And I could have saved this for the end of the year rant, but I feel like I don't need to. I feel like I can kind of get away with talking about it now instead of waiting. What is this, like 6 more? Well, no, it's probably like 5 more days because today is the day after Christmas. So I hope you guys enjoyed your holiday. If you didn't celebrate Christmas, but one of the things that had been recently frustrating me that I thought was noteworthy to make a video about was the fucking wokeism that we're currently in, the woke era. Which I'd be happy that when we hit 2020 we could leave that shit in the past. I fucking hate the woke era. I really fucking do. So the woke era to me is a bunch of people who supposedly have woken up to all the lies and all the conspiracies that have been surrounding the media and in the United States in general, right? About how evil, racist, sexist, homophobic our country is, and specifically white people, because this has also been the era that would objectively people would just tell you white people ain't shit. As much as I hate that thought process. That's literally what it's turned into. It's specifically white men. They will do it to white women, but it's specifically to white men. That white men ain't shit. White men are racist. White men are homophobic. White men are sexist. It's just evil white men or white people in general, because like I said, white women get it too, they just don't get it as bad. The thing that frustrates me about this is that it's that people, in some cases, I think people are literally just making, what's a good example? Making a mountain out of a molehill, essentially. They're taking something that has nothing to do with any of those things and then turning it into a subject about one of those fucking things. And it's frustrating because it's like, this is an advancement in our society. I guess this is a stage in the advancement of our society, but we need shit to normalize because I'm frustrated with this whole narrative. The reason why this even came up in the first place is I have a black friend. I think she was one of the first people I met off of YouTube who has me added on my Facebook, my personal Facebook account. And she is very, what I like to call, like, super pro-black. And I need to make something clear. I have no issue with you being pro-black. I have an issue when your pro-blackness also turns into racism against white people. Because there's one thing I think a lot of people don't want to acknowledge but needs to be acknowledged. Black people can be racist, and there are black people who are racist, and racist black people can get away with being racist in 2019 because they're black. It's funny that I can say that and it'd be a genuinely true statement. Because of how society is acting as of currently, you can be a racist ass black person or say some racist shit as a black person and not get in trouble for it, because today's climate is all about that wokeness. For example, accusing a bunch of white people of shit that they had no control over usually can, not saying every time, but I'm saying people tend to end up saying racist shit in reference, like, oh, well, white people did this, and was a white man, you could never understand the struggle, you could never understand life, my life. And I'm like, well, that's, for one, that's an assumption, because you don't know that white person's life. And two, it's not, obviously he won't understand your exact struggle, but claiming that he could never learn or understand because of the color of his skin is a little racist, because you're implying that only black people could understand you, or people, or colored people could understand you. It's like segregation through, like, disparity. Like, my life sucks, and you can't understand my life sucks because you're white. Not because of your background, not because of where you grew up, but usually people just say, oh, because you're white, which is fucking stupid. But it frustrates me that, like, black people have openly gotten away with saying racist ass shit for no other reason than the fact that today's climate caters themselves to this. But the friend I'm referring to, one of the posts that really ticked me off was this post she posted of, it was like a caption. It was a sharing of another post. The original post was like a picture of, like, that celebrate our black boys, and it's like the guys who do makeup, but they're all black, right? Which is fine, no problem with that. If you want to celebrate your black male makeup artist, cool. Then her comment was like, I'd rather these guys be the face of like YouTube instead of like James Charles and another, I guess, non-black makeup YouTuber. Now, a lot of you might, for those who are uninformed, you don't understand, that shit comes off kind of racist because it's like not the original post. I'm talking about the comment about I'd rather it be these guys than James Charles and them. Even though James Charles had that whole allegation thing that was dropped because he had his receipts and he had his shit together. The other guy I don't remember the name of, nor do I know about. But it's like, so you rather have black makeup artists than white ones because of race? Like, there's like, how else would you take that? Like, the only other way I could have took it is if she was referring to the fact that James Charles has been in some trouble recently, even though he was pretty much cleared of it because he had his receipts for the situation, unless she didn't know that. And that's me giving her the benefit of the doubt. But when it comes to, but like a post like that, that kind of shit comes off kind of like, yeah, because if a white person, if you had flipped it and been like a white person celebrating makeup artists, saying, look at these great makeup artists, and then like another post came and shared it and wrote the comment on theirs saying, these should replace the black famous ones. That's what it comes off as. Or like these famous ones who happen to be black. That shit comes off kind of sketchy to me because I'm like, And see, that's the kind of shit that frustrates me. Also because I think people, the other thing that's frustrated me, that kind of fits with this whole woke ass narrative, is this overly obsession with like race and gender swapping characters in movies and television. If you like one of them, and for me, it's become so frustrating. It's like almost a turnoff. Like for example, if anyone saw the Batwoman trailer, I looked at and I was like, "Fuck you," and I'm saying off the trailer, not the show because I haven't watched the show. But the trailer was like, as soon as I heard it, and one of the lines was like the whole, "Oh, the suit is perfect," and she's like, "Oh, it will be when a woman steps into it," and I'm like, this is like some of the most sexist shit I've ever heard in my life. Like that shit frustrates me. It frustrates me and it gets on my nerves. Now, from what I've heard, the show's okay. Although I heard some recent episodes kind of do exactly what you thought. Like the trailer, it's a bad trailer from what I've heard. The trailer does not properly represent the show. Now, I haven't seen the show, so I'm not commenting on the show. I'm just saying that's the kind of shit that just turns me the fuck off of a situation. But the race swapping and gender swapping, a lot of black people make the whole argument that like, oh well, it's so like that my daughter and kids of this generation have a black role model to look up to. But here's my thing: if you're race swapping or gender swapping a character, that in all your the problem is for one, that's a lazy, and I think people need to be honest with themselves. It is a lazy fucking way of inclusivity. When all you did was flip the race of a character and he acts exactly the same or pretty fucking similar to his original comic book or whatever, or book origin of himself or TV show, whatever the hell it's based off of, like it doesn't mean any fucking thing. Like the whole thing with Ariel being a black girl for the live action film. One, Disney live action, I already have my issues with that in general. Two, if it's Ariel, that means she's still got to act like Ariel to a degree. So I don't know if it's just me, but as a kid, like the black characters I looked up to were their own original characters, not these fucking race swap versions of the same goddamn character. But then again, I was also looking at more like original properties. Like for example, like Static Shock, for example. Static Shock is not a race swap character. He's an original black character. And he always sticks out in my mind as a kid because he was an original fucking character. Another example is for kids who ended up seeing Into the Spider-Verse as a child. If they look up to Miles, they're not going to look up to Miles because he's a race swap version of Peter Parker. They're going to look up to Miles because Miles is black and has his own little struggle that is his. It's not Peter's, it's not Gwen's, it's his. Race swapping a character doesn't do shit to me. Give an example like Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson has been Nick Fury since what, 2008, I think? It's in Iron Man. And I was like, what, 17 when that movie came out? I've been watching the MCU films since I was like late high school. I never fucking related to Nick Fury at all. And he's been in so many films. Like, his blackness did nothing for me. And I don't know, like, realistically, and people need to also recognize that that's a cop-out. Like, people are so ready to champion these black version of characters, but you won't fucking sit there and demand more original content featuring people of color. Like, that's what I find fucking stupid. People want to act here and like you so woke and you so ready, and you'll sit here and champion this black Ariel, but no one wants to get out there and stand up for the Hoy. Why can't we get some original black characters and you stop fucking doing this dumb shit with race swapping and gender swapping? I think they did it for a character that in Doctor Strange, the monk that teaches him and shit. Like, that's originally a guy. Does that make a difference? No. Then what the fuck is the point? It's a fake sense of diversity. It does nothing for the movie. It does nothing for these characters. Because if I grew up with these characters in comics, guess what you've done? Not a goddamn thing. You just gave me a different representation that they're just black now. Well, that doesn't do nothing for me. What? It's like if your favorite Green Lantern is Hal Jordan, and then they get on screen, and instead of giving you John Stewart, they just give you a black Hal Jordan. How is that progressive? It's not, and it frustrates me because it's this forced need of inclusivity, but they're still half-assing it. Like, that's still what's going on. And the narrative, and also I'm sick of the white guilt shit, because I'm like, we're sitting here talking about how we want this country to move towards equality, like true equality of all races and genders and whatever the fuck, right? But we keep fucking blaming white people for everything. Like, and here's my thing. The people who are responsible for their racist actions or homophobic, whatever, that's whatever. I'm talking about the white people that have nothing to do with their past. Just how people keep saying how black people did not ask to be born, or Mexicans, or whatever the fuck, asked to not be born in these shitty living situations. White kids did not ask to be born in high class society. It's so fucking stupid. It's like, oh, but by the way, and then what pisses me off is that modern day America is gonna sit there and tell these white kids, you ain't shit because of things that your great grandfather did, right? And motherfuckers will go, well, was it that long ago? My point is that if the child has no idea of what the fuck is going on, and he or her themselves have not said anything or done anything, then what the fuck are you blaming them for? I understand the importance of knowing your history. That's one thing. But like, today's society acts like white men specifically, you can include white women in there too, ain't shit. And I understand that you got some white men and women who've said some races and done some fucked up things. You also have black people who've done that. It also gets on the whole idea of racial slurs. Actually, a good example is the Happy Holidays. Is how, like, in this era now, Happy Holidays, know that Merry Christmas is deemed offensive because not everyone celebrates Christmas. Now, that's one of those things that, although I don't think it's that big of a deal to begin with, I can understand changing to Happy Holidays to fit everybody. It's one of those things I don't think that's that big of a deal to begin with, but I also need to be open-minded and recognize that some of our language needs to change. Speaking of change, I don't understand how black people don't understand why you made a racial slur popular and you made it even more popular through the entertainment industry, and then we're surprised to find that people who wanted to fuck with you used it as a way to fuck with you. It kind of goes back to the troll video I was talking about. I think it was the video before last, where I was said some people just say the N-word not because they're racist, but because they know you can get a reaction of a black person by saying the N-word. That doesn't make you racist. It just makes you a fucking asshole. And people always, and that's the other thing I hate. That like every time a person's race is called into question, I mean, not calling the question, but when a person's race is mentioned, you're automatically racist for it now. You're automatically sexist if you don't agree with the narrative that women need to be treated like men, even though half of the reason why women weren't treated like men to begin with is because women actively didn't want to be treated like men. And to be fair, in modern society, they still aren't treated fairly. Because let's be real here, if you hit a woman versus hitting a man, you are 100% more likely to go to jail hitting a woman versus hitting a man, even if it's the same exact situation. That shit still doesn't fucking exist. Dudes are terrified of being in an altercation with a woman because there's nothing to do. Even though the dickheads of society have been taught to not fuck with a woman. And here's the kicker, is if an altercation with a woman happens in a lot of situations, a dude will just get a dude, no matter the race, will get screwed in that situation. Because if he doesn't swing on her, then he's just taking hits and getting fucked with. And the girl knows he can fuck with him, so the girl's not going to stop. In a lot of cases, women will ruin your shit. Ruin all your shit. And you can't do a goddamn thing about it. Because the moment you swing, every guy who was watching with their fucking phones is ready to bum rush you. But you sitting there like, bitch, why didn't you come help me or get her the fuck away from me when when she was harassing me and I didn't hit her? That's the kind of shit that frustrates me. This is the kind of society we still live in, but motherfuckers want to act like, oh, everything's turned against us. It's not. Now I understand there is systematic and there is, and because I had made a post on Facebook talking about how I was so done with this quote unquote wokeness in 2019, and people need to stop obsessing over racism and sexism and homophobic. I don't think homophobism is a word, but like being homophobic, right? You need to stop like overly focusing in on that. And motherfuckers looked at that, and I got comments talking about. It sounds like you just want to brush over the racism, and that's not. It's like I said, no. Over focusing or obsessing over it is not the same thing as overlooking it. But see, people, that's how people are. That people are, you're so obsessed with it that me saying don't be obsessed with it, you took that as me saying to overlook it. I'm not saying overlook racism. I'm not saying overlook sexism. I'm not saying overlook homophobia. I'm saying like you're so honed in on it like it's an obsession, like you're on crack. Like you think everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is designed to fuck with like the gender society or whatever the fuck. Like people are so honed in on this shit, they don't realize at a certain point. I think you're just turning situations into that to fit your narrative, and that's what and people act like that's not what's going on. In a lot of situations, that shit just happens. The fact that you got people out here getting arrested for misgendering someone, which is something you wouldn't know is a thing until you said the person's name, or you called him a him or a her. But nowadays you're expected to know what gender they are and to call them that gender. And just like everything else in society, people can abuse that and fuck with people's lives. People can do that. People can sit there and go, well, you called me a him and I identify as a her. I'm calling the police on you. What do you do in that situation? Well, you never told me. Oh, that's not my problem. You should have known. You should have known to call me a him and not to call me a her instead of a him. That's the kind of shit that's going on in our fucking society. That a motherfucker can get arrested for misgendering someone. And you can't do a goddamn thing about it. And that shit's frustrating to me. So it's my issue kind of just stems from the idea that like there's nothing wrong with being educated, right? There's nothing wrong with knowing your facts and your history. But there is a problem when you then turn your facts into a way to fit your narrative to fuck with people or to create a situation that doesn't exist. Like turning 5-year-old Sally, 5-year-old white girl Sally into a racist because I'm trying to think of a stupid reason. Because she was listening to like a Tupac album. But she didn't, but she said she didn't like Tupac. Or some dumb shit like that. She's a racist against black people. But she said she didn't like Tupac after listening to his album. Like, and maybe I'm wrong here, that's fine. I'm perfectly cool with it. I don't delete comments. I know YouTube does that dumb shit where it like auto-detects spam and shit. But like, if you have your own personal view and opinion, that's perfectly fine. It will be open in the comments for you to talk and speak your mind. But like, for me personally, the shit I've dealt with, it's just more frustrating nowadays to see this kind of nonsense without people like looking at both sides of the coin. Like I said, one of the main things I kept harping on a while back was the one thing I wanted for the new generation is to be open-minded. Because God knows, as adults, that shit does not get better. That shit gets worse for a lot of adults. A lot of adults get stuck in a certain lane of thinking, and that's it. And so the older we get, the closer we get to that closed-minded thinking. Like the door in our minds as adults, it start inching in closer and closer and closer. Because I'm pretty sure all of us, no matter the race or gender, probably have that 1 or 2 or 3 family members who we never want to go out with because they always say some fucked up shit. Black, white, doesn't matter. I've had black friends grandmas do it. I've seen white friends grandmas do it. It's nothing really. They're actually closer to the time to where that shit was acceptable to say. Now it's not. So as I said, the older you get, the more stuck in your ways you get. This door just fucking shut. So please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the support. And I'll probably be back in a few days with the end of the year ramble, where I'll talk about life and stuff, and then get ready for my mom's birthday, who's on January 1st. But I hope you guys enjoyed your holidays, enjoyed the time off, enjoyed the time alive at all. Because I actually might make one more rant. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Later days, lots of gameplay to win. Peace. Oh.